I've always felt like, it's the right thing to do. We should include black women, of course. We should have diversity, but of course we should do it. But do you want to do it? No. You're just doing it because we should do it. And that's how I feel about Britain. Whereas in America, I genuinely feel they want it. They want me. And Britain, I still don't think you want me. And I will rather go where I'm wanted.
First of all, congratulations on the book. It's really lovely. It's really funny. Made me laugh out loud a lot.
Thanks,
It did
babe.
for Jane
Wait, you
as well.
actually read it all?
Look,
We
lady.
both read it.
Look, this is what happens when you stay at the
Honey.
BBC too long. You really do the homework.
Oh my gosh, thank you for reading my book.
But look, it really struck me, London, because there are a couple of bits where you mentioned Russell Brand because you
Yes.
shared an agent, and I'd seen your recent tweets this week.
Yes.
Do you want to just explain to people who haven't seen them your thoughts on him
The
now?
thing is, right, I genuinely support women. And I feel like it's so hard when women come forward about anything. And it's just so much... I just feel like the first thing we should be doing is listening to these women. So I support these women. And what happened was I just went online, and after the documentary came out and the Times piece came out, I just was like, cool, I support these women. I believe them. I went online and I just saw so much hate for these women. And so I just decided to talk about what I knew about about Russell, and that's what those tweets were. And it was just from my knowledge. I wanted to add some colour to the situation, but all in all, I support these women. I believe the women, and I think we should all be listening to them, honestly.
So what was your experience? What did you know
I've
about him
never
back in the
met
day?
the man. I've never met him, but all I like what I said in the tweets. I just said that when I joined the agency, that we had the same agent. I was so excited to have the same agent as him. I was a huge fan of him. And yeah, I was told that I shouldn't, unsolicited, I was told I shouldn't have sex with him and stay clear of him, because once he has sex with women, he likes to, I guess, pursue them, have sex with them, and then he doesn't want to be around them anymore. They make him feel sick. So he would have those women removed from the working around him, the agency, people, or whoever. And, my agent warned me to stay clear because she didn't want that happening to me. And I did.
Was it done in quite an official way or a bit of an off-the-cuff way?
No, it was official. Like, leave that man alone, steer clear of him. And the thing is, I'm not that. People are like, I don't know what it is. I don't know why people are like I don't know if they're pretending to be shocked, but from what I've seen online, there's a lot of, oh my gosh. And it's just like, what are you talking about? You're acting like we didn't all know this about this
But
man.
the thing is, London, that there are people who clearly knew.
Yes.
I'm not in showbiz. I'm in the media. I had heard rumours.
Yeah.
You'd heard rumours.
We've all heard rumours.
But most people hadn't.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think when you hide in plain sight, which was a great name, because he definitely said, I have a sex addiction. So, I do all these things. I have sex addiction. So even when my agent told me about his behaviour, I was like, oh, it must be because of his sex addiction. Like, that was I was 22 at the time. I was like, oh, I kind of naively was just like, oh, okay. That's just how he is because he's a sex addict. I guess women make him feel sick.
But you weren't the only one.
No.
Because we were all fooled by this man. I mean, lots of people, quite sensible people, educated people, found him funny, gave him work.
Yeah.
Work for him.
And the thing is, I was a huge fan of this man.
Yeah.
This isn't someone that I'm like, oh yeah, I can't stand. I was a huge fan of him, but I just knew at 22, don't go to the after parties, don't hang around him. I knew that, and I steered clear of him.
And so you say in the book also that you were just a huge fan of what he did on stage, of what his comedy was.
Yeah.
And do you think, looking back on it, that your comedy was influenced by that kind of incredibly open, sexualised content that now when we watch Russell Brand, we go, oh my gosh, we all... watched that, made him a star. Did you feel he was that kind of influence? I didn't like his stand-up material. I liked his performance. I liked how he would strike around on stage and he'd flounce around. He was really high energy. And so that's what I admired. But what he was talking about wasn't my thing. I wasn't really into that. But I think when a man talks about that on stage, it's very different to when a woman does it. When a woman does it, it's feminist, it's sexy, it's iconic. When a man does it, it's not the same.
Well, what is it then?
I don't know. Watching that documentary and hearing him talk, I did feel uncomfortable. I don't know. I don't think it's funny. I honestly don't.
You don't think it's funny now because we know what we know, and
But
he, by the
I
way,
don't think I
denies the allegations.
Yeah, I don't think I thought it was funny then either. But I did really like him as a host. I really liked his presenting style.
Well, you weren't the only one. He got work.
Yeah. So look, I don't want to make this a thing about Russell. Like, it's about my book, and my book's called Live My Best Life, and I want to, be. It's so the timing of all of this is crazy. Like, I came here to England to promote my book, and then this stuff came out, and morally I just couldn't sleep at night knowing that people were saying negative things about these women, and without saying something on Twitter. And what I've said on Twitter, I've said to people's faces at the time, 10 years ago. When I was warned about this, I wasn't the only one that was warned about him. I have female comedian friends have also been warned about him. I've spoken to female comics about him. This is not a thing of like, oh, nobody knew. Like, we all knew. I've told several people, they've told several people. We knew, we didn't know, I personally didn't know it was as deep as it was. I didn't know it was as bad as it was, but I definitely knew, for lack of a better word, that he was dodgy when it comes to women. And I felt that from the rumours I'd heard and what I'd experienced from other people telling me things about him, it didn't seem like he had a lot of respect for women.
You're absolutely right that we need to talk about you, and
Thank
we need to
you.
talk about the book.
Thank you.
One final question on that, not specifically about him, though. Have you ever felt, as a young woman in the industry, that you have been vulnerable in a man's company?
Yes.
Yeah.
He is not the only comedian that you can say these things about.
Do you think that there's other people out there who might have the same level of...
Yes.
You do? Okay. In this country or in
Yes.
America?
Not in America. I've never experienced it in America. In England, yes.
Okay. What do we do with those open secrets, London?
But this is the thing. It's kind of like not up to us. It's up to men to stop doing this to women. It's like we're not the Ninja Turtles. Women in England don't need to come together to stop these men. All these open. It's up to the women to save. No, men, stop being creepy, dodgy, disrespectful weirdos and treat women with respect. We wouldn't have to have open secrets. We have WhatsApp groups. We warn each other about these men. We all tell each other, don't do gigs with this guy. There's only so much we, the women, can do when we're the ones that are being abused by these men. This conversation should be for the men. What are the male comics going to do about other male comics that are just like Russell? What are they going to do about it? Because it's their problem.
Can I just say, let's give her a round of applause
Yes.
for that, because
We
that
agree.
Jesus
We
Christ.
really agree. And
needed to
I'm
be
here
said.
to promote my book.
Let's get on to
Live
your
My
book.
Best Life.
Yeah.
And he's coming and ruining it with
No,
his stupidness.
enough.
Can
No,
we
he's
just
gone.
say,
He's
gone.
let's say-
Jesus.
all right, let's acknowledge
Yes.
that you are a changed woman. Now, Fee and I have met you before. You say in your book, and I really liked you for this, that your drink of choice was tea with 8 sugars.
Yeah.
Today we offer you a tea and you ask for what?
Herbal tea, no sugar.
You see?
she's left us in so many ways,
Jane,
Jane, hasn't
It's
she?
cool. It looks gorgeous. Thanks for my tea. Thank you, ladies. Also, can I say, I haven't seen you lot in how many years? 5 years? 6 years?
It's
Probably
at least
5
that.
years.
5
Yeah.
years? You look exactly the same. Both of you.
I think that's
so
good.
rude.
Exactly the same. Literally exactly the
No,
same.
you're right. I'm going to take it in a more positive way.
Take it in a positive
Yeah.
way.
That's all that we can hope
Gorgeous.
for at this age. Is
Gorgeous.
just, not to kind of deviate from the path too much
Yeah.
in future.
Gorgeous.
Your book is really hilarious, London. And what struck me all the way through is just your thirst for fame and success. So you open
Unashamed.
really, really unashamed. There are a couple of words I can't say. Could you just beat them when I try and say them? Sounds and big-headed. But I really was, and that's because the chapter title is "I was born to do this."
Yeah.
I truly am doing exactly what I was put on this earth to do: entertain you. And I knew this. I've always known it, even from a young age. So why? What was that inner thing when you were tiny that made you want to be outside of a normal life, really?
I don't know. Do you know what? It was just this innate feeling that I had deep down that, like, you know, some people just know what they were meant to do. Like, there's some people that from a young age, I love playing the piano. They've always wanted to be a pianist, and they're now a pianist. There's people that just know. I was a kid that just was obsessed with the telly box. That bright thing just flashing in my face. It became my best friend. I was obsessed with everything on it. And yeah, my mummy, I say in the book, my mum said that when I was 5, she found me trying to get on TV by climbing around the back of it. Like, literally, I wanted to be inside that box. So badly. And so when you want to achieve something, you think, how can I get there? And so you be famous. Like, to get on TV, you have to be famous. So how do I be famous? And so I remember just trying to figure out, how do I get famous so I can be on TV? Because I just wanted to be on TV. And so I tried many ways to get famous. They're all in the book. They're hilarious. And even to the point where I called up, I asked my mum and dad to get me an agent, and they laughed. And I was like, fine, because I'm like 6 at the time.
Yeah.
And 6, 7, and they laughed. And I'm like, fine. So I'm figuring out ways to get an agent. And I just knew, I saw an advert for the Yellow Pages and saw that, like, all the jobs, and if you're looking for a job, find it in the Yellow Pages. So I looked in the Yellow Pages for agents, and what I found was estate agents. And I called up estate agents asking them I knew that the word was representation. So you have to say, I'm looking for representation. So I was like, hi, I want to be Black Britney Spears. I'm looking for representation. Can you help me? I want to be a British female Will Smith. I'm looking for representation. Can you help me? And my mum's number got banned from Foxtons and Bearsbury's and all the local...
I bet not before they tried to sell you a small semi-detached
You know what
house
I mean?
somewhere. Croydon.
Pebble dashing.
Oh, yeah. But
Um,
I was hungry for it.
Can we hear about, I mean, school just wasn't big enough to contain you, was it? It was hopeless.
No. I feel like school... Thing is, I got bullied in school. So, like, that's another thing. People just... I wanted to talk about bullying in the book because people who have heard me, seen me about, know my stuff... The one thing they would say about me is she's loud and she's confident. And I think people need to understand that, like, that loud and confident girl was once, was once like I wouldn't say shy, but I definitely was low, lacking in confidence. My self-esteem was really low. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about the bullying in school in the book because I just wanted people to realise that, like, even if they're feeling low worth now, that's not going to be their future.
And there were some really, really mean girls, weren't there? You
Yeah.
say in a passage where you write about a birthday party that you were having in Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
Where nobody turned up, and you ask the reader before you tell them the story not to feel sorry for you and not to cry. But let me just say, I felt terrible for you and was really moved by that. And I mean, I don't disagree with anything that you say in the book, but I retain my right as a reader to feel deeply sympathetic for you in that situation, actually.
You know what? You can have your right.
That's very
reader.
kind. Can you
Yeah.
tell us about it, though? Because it was awful, actually, London.
Yeah, it was. It was really sad. Do you know the reason why I say in the book, like, don't feel sorry for me? Because I don't feel like a victim. Back then I did. But now, as an adult, looking back on that time, I realised why those girls did what they did. And at that time, I didn't know why. I always thought, like, what's wrong with me? Why do they treat me so badly? Why is this happening to me? Now I realise they had the problem. They had something in them that was lacking, and when whatever they saw in me made it worse. My light was basically shining too brightly that these little girls had to dim it at the end. They're like 30, well, how old am I? 12, 11? Like, and they're trying to dim my light. Basically, I had a pizza hut party and I was so excited and I invited all my friends, but my mum said at the time, like, she couldn't afford to pay for, I invited like 15 girls, and she was like, she can't afford to pay for the pizzas for everybody, but she'll pay for all the drinks and unlimited ice cream. And back then, unlimited ice cream for kids was like having a free bar. So I was like, we're going to live our best lives. And pizzas at the time were like £4. So everyone had pocket money. Let's go there, buy a £4 pizza, unlimited ice cream, live our best lives. So that was the plan. And then all the popular girls in my school, I guess, decided that no one should go. So they told everybody not to come to the party. And they basically were like, I'm not paying for £1. Your mum's really cheap. We're not doing that. And they basically convinced all the less popular girls to not go and all my friends to not go. So I showed up at this party, this massive table with my little crown and my pepperoni pizza. And like, there was like no one there. And I was really sad. I was eating my pizza alone, waiting for my friends to show up. They didn't show up. And then like the door opened and like 20 girls from school all came in. And I was like, oh my God, they're here. Like they did show up. But no, they went and sat at the table next to me and had their own pizza party in my face and just laughed at me the whole time.
Where are they now?
Exactly.
Yep.
Probably in prison. So they're definitely not on the Times radio right now.
No, that's true.
Definitely not.
I don't want to. There's so much you could talk about. I'm very well aware of that. But can we just hear briefly about your experience? I mean, it's a concept of show business of which I had absolutely no awareness until reading your book. You were a kind of warm-up girl on a porn channel.
Babe Station.
Babe Station.
Yeah.
She's
Yes.
pretending not to know. She's one of the founders.
You're a
I'm
warm-up
not one of the
girl on a porn channel.
Yes, well, I used to work for Radio
yes.
4. Just go with that, please. What was that like?
So I wanted my quest to be on TV. I did not discriminate. TV was TV, you know? I've done CBBC, I've done Babe Station. TV is TV, okay? Anything goes.
Newsnight's next.
Literally.
Well, it probably will be.
It probably will be, actually, after today. After what's been going on. Oh, this press run has been insane, ladies. Anyway, I basically was, for lack of a better word, a fluffer.
Yeah, you were.
I was a fluffer. So basically, when Babe Station was airing back in the early 2000s, in the daytime, there was no porn, but they had to keep the channel on to pay the bills. So what do you do with a porn channel where you can't show porn? Well, you have London Hughes telling jokes and fully clothed.
Yes.
So that was my job. And I had this thing called Flirt UK, and it was live TV. And back when you could text the bottom of the screen and it would have like people talking to each other, like a little chat room at the bottom. So I was in the top screen in the corner, chat room in the bottom, and then I'd be like, hi, you're watching Flirt UK with me, London Hughes. Listen, if you're single and you're ready to mingle, text in. And then I'd have a picture of like, this is Hugh. Hugh is single. He likes redheads. If you're a redhead who fancies a bit of Hugh, text in. And they would text in and you know, I would encourage it and give them the number to call and like text, you know.
How many hours did this go on for?
Oh, I was on there from 4 till 11. And then 11, I would leave and that's when the tits would come out. But from 4 to 11, I was getting £20 an hour, babe. Living the dream. Living the dream. Sitting there on live TV, 4 to 11.
Yeah.
Getting paid to talk.
I mean, in retrospect, was it good experience?
Yes, because this is how I started doing comedy. After a while, I made up little bits. So I had like Hughes' shoes where I like put my feet up and showed them what shoes I was wearing that day and made like funny things about my shoes. And then the foot fetish guys really like that.
I was gonna say
so
they
then
would, yeah.
that would get more people in. Foot fetish guys are texting in, making more money. I had the most popular show on Babe Station in the daytime.
Right.
Most popular. So I did that until I got fired.
Yes, well, it's happened to all of us.
So yeah, so that was a crazy time. Crazy time. And then my next job after that was CBBC.
Of course it was.
Yes, yeah, it was CBBC. Yeah.
It's not been an easy journey, though, has it, to where you are now? And for people who might not be aware of how difficult it was for you in this country, I mean, it's impossible to, you know, detail every single rejection and experience that you had, but you didn't have the kind of easy ride that your success now people would imagine that you'd had.
No. And that's why I wanted to put it in the book, because I think when you think of successful people, we always see the end result. We don't see all the failing and all the hardship they went through. So the book is basically all the failure. I was like, I'm putting it all in, no matter how bad it is or how bad it makes me feel to relive it. It's all going in. My thing was always this. I genuinely remember when in 2009, I won the Funny Women Awards. I'm just turned 20. And I remember thinking, I have been doing stand-up for 3 months and I've already won this competition, and it was searching for the UK's funniest woman, and the search went all over the country. So at 3 months of doing stand-up, I'm already as good as a lot of women, or if not better. I won it, right? So I'm there thinking, well, this is great. I've won this award. And I remember like the South London Press did an interview with me, like, what's next? And I was like, well, if this is me now 3 months in, give me a year. I'll have my own TV show. I'll have this, I'll have that, I'll have that. And I genuinely, my mom and dad taught me that, like, if you're a nice person and you work hard, good things will happen to you. They did that, and that's just what I believed. I didn't take systemic racism and sexism into the picture. So I genuinely was like, well, I'm funny. I work hard. I'm really nice. Of course I'll have a TV show. Of course I'll get on this. Of course I'll get on Mock the Week. Of course I'll get on 8 out of 10 Cats. Of course I'll get on Live at the Apollo. Like, why wouldn't I do? I'm funny. I've proved I'm funny. I won this competition. I'm really nice. And I work hard. What's stopping me? And then,
Well, what did stop you?
Sexism and systemic racism. And yeah, I genuinely was slapped round the face with systemic racism. It was crazy. I remember just watching all my friends, my white male friends, that had started around the same time I did, or before me, or a bit before me, a bit after me. And I just remember, like, after gigs, even though I'd killed it, the producers would be around these white guys, like, talking to them, even though, like, I killed it. And the guys would be like, oh yeah, I got this agent, I got this person. Did you get? And I'd be like, no, nobody approached me for anything. And then, like, even the auditions that I had to do, I would always get to the final rounds of auditions and then, like, kill it. And all the comics, people like Josh Widdicombe, Joe Lycett, before they were famous, they will all tell you, like, London was with us. I was that era of comedian, but they kept getting offers for TV shows and all these things, and, like, opportunities on panel shows, and I didn't get them. And I just was like, well, clearly I don't know what I'm doing wrong, because I'm going into, it's not like no one's laughing. I'm killing it. It's not like I'm dying on my ass. I'm killing it. And then afterwards, I really was angry, and I was like asking my agent, like, ask them why they haven't chosen me. Like, speak to 8 out of 10 Cats producers and say, why, after London killed that audition, why is she not on the show? And they'd be like, oh, we love London. She did amazing. We just don't think our audience would get her. And that was always the feedback. And they were like, if London's famous in her own right, you know, she can come on the show. So they would have, like, a Jamelia on the show, like a famous black woman who's a pop star, but, like, an up-and-coming black female comedian, no. But then an up-and-coming white male comedian, yes. So it was just like, what do you mean the audience wouldn't get me? I'm British. I'm what is it? I don't speak another language. What is it then that's not to get? And I realised it was painful to understand that, like, maybe the audience would never get me, you know?
You do make a really interesting point in the book about there being two types of comedy circuits in this country.
Yes.
And I had not stopped to think about that, London.
Had you not?
I am grateful to you for pointing this
babes.
out. No, so could you tell us a bit more
Sure.
about that very clear distinction that you make?
Yeah, so there's two. There's always been two. There's still two now. There's the comedy circuit that you know of. Like, we called that the white comedy circuit back in the day. And then there's the black comedy circuit. And so the black comedy circuit is a circuit that's, I guess, full of black comedians that can't get on to the white comedy circuit. Like, let me be very clear. I have been doing stand-up since I was 19 years old. 19. I have never in my life been asked to perform at the Comedy Store in the UK. Ever. I'm 34 years old. They have the only times I performed at the Comedy Store was a charity gig for Stephen K. Amos, which Stephen asked me to go on, or when I won Funny Women, which was at the Comedy Store. Mm-hmm. Outside of those, the Comedy Store, whoever runs it, I don't even know his name. He has never reached out to me and booked me ever. And I performed at the Comedy Store in LA, the world famous Comedy Store, the one with Robin Williams and pictures of Robin Williams and Jim Carrey and Eddie Murphy as you walk in. I perform there every weekend, but I've never been booked at the UK Comedy Store. This is what I'm saying. So, like, because we can't get on at these comedy clubs, the black comedians had to make their own circuit. So it's full of black comedians that have not been booked on places like the Comedy Store and other top comedy places in London. And instead we, you know, created our own scene. We performed in churches, little theatres, Catford Broadway Theatre, Hackney Empire, big theatres, but, like, predominantly to black audiences. And yeah, we weren't, you know, our gigs weren't covered in Time Out. They weren't one to what, oh, come to this weekend. No, like, it was just like a community of people that liked black comedy would know about it. They would show up and they would go. We'd post it on Facebook and they would go to those shows.
So what's an agent doing in all of that to try and correct that situation?
So my agent that I have, they're more for TV and film. So they wouldn't necessarily get you booked on comedy shows because comedy gigs don't pay a lot of money in the UK. So it's like your agent's not really making a lot of money off of booking you at the Comedy Store. you don't do the Comedy Store for the money, really. You do it for the prestige. I don't even know how much it is to perform at the Comedy Store. I've never been paid any time I've performed there. But essentially, my agent would be trying to get me auditions and meetings and in the room with people that would lead to TV shows and adverts and TV appearances. And then as a comedian, you're just hustling. You're just trying to gig. And I had a comedy booker at one point and he got me loads of gigs, but they weren't like prestigious gigs. They were like little working men's pubs. And I would do that. I would drive like from Brighton, I lived in Brighton at the time, I would drive to Leeds, go on stage, do 10 minutes at some working man's pub and like drive back home for 50 quid. That was my life. I was doing that all over the country.
You went to Hull once.
I went to Hull. Oh God. Once being the word. Never again, baby girl.
Right. Have we lost you to America then? Is this it?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Can you not blame me?
Well,
You look sad. Don't
are
you
a
want
bit
better
sad.
for me? Don't you want better for me?
Yes, we do.
well,
We
I'd
both
like.
want you to
Do you
be
know what?
happy.
I'd like to do Britain. I'd like Britain to do better.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think is what I really mean.
And I think that's what I've had to realise, and it's so sad. But like, I took it personal for a long time because I've been doing stand-up for 10 years. And at the time when I moved to America, maybe 11 years when I moved to America, and I just remember being like, one day, Britain, you'll care, you'll see, America's gonna love me. And they did. America loved me, embraced me. I was never told, oh, our audience won't get her, despite the fact that it's a completely different country and I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. But America took me under their wing and welcomed me, and people like Kevin Hart and Dave Chappelle are now my mentors and friends. And I genuinely remember thinking, oh, I'm going to come back to England and they'll care. And they do care more. Don't get me wrong. Like my agent's always getting, bookings like, can you do this? Can't you do that? And I'm like, no, you can't afford me. But truthfully, you can't. But I do think England has a thing when it comes, and I'm only speaking in entertainment. I think it has a thing where it doesn't really celebrate black women in a way that it should. And I think it's not personal to me. I just don't think they will ever really care. And when I think about America, despite how racist America is, I'm not saying it's not, America's racist. America's probably one of the most racist countries in the world. Yet it has a Beyonce. It has a Whoopi Goldberg. It has an Oprah. There's no British Oprah. There's no British Beyonce. There's no British Whoopi Goldberg. There's not name a British woman who is as successful as any black British black woman who's as successful as any white man in Britain.
Right. And had you stayed here, you don't think you could have become that person?
No. Because I don't think that there's enough things in place to allow me to become that person.
Or doors just being open for you. Because that
Yeah.
was the very striking thing when you went to America.
Yeah.
And you were walking, was it with a friend who said, oh, Judd Apatow's office is over
Yeah.
there, let's go and have lunch with him.
Yeah.
And instead of it being a, don't come in, we're not interested, who
No,
are you?
it was like, welcome, yes. Like,
Yeah.
I came to America prepared. Like, I wrote 10 TV shows, 10 movies, and 10 unscripted TV shows ready so that when I had meetings, they would say, have you got anything we could read? I'd be like, yes, all of this. So I came there like ready to hustle and work hard, and I was prepared to bang down the door. And I got there and the door was open for me. They were like, oh, you're talented, you work hard, come in. You're a black woman, come in. And I've never had that like love and celebration. Like, it's just here, I've always felt like, it's the right thing to do. We should include black women, of course. We should have diversity, but of course we should do it. But do you want to do it? No, you're just doing it because we should do it. And that's how I feel about Britain. Whereas in America, I genuinely feel they want it. They want me. And Britain, I still don't think you want me. And I will rather go where I'm wanted.
Yeah. Your impersonation of a white man called Crispin who works in television is very, very good. Thank you very much. What can we say?